Hey guys, um, apparently it's time for my once a year update, I guess. Um, a lot has changed since the last time my YouTubers have seen this face. Um, I don't even know where I left off last time. Um, so we'll start with May of 2017. Um, I met a girl in April. Um, we hit it off, started talking. We're now engaged and getting married in January. Uh, it couldn't be happier. I absolutely, this woman completes me in ways that I didn't even know were incomplete. Um, so that's exciting. Um, it's, there's one of my favorite phrases these days is um, inhale the good shit, exhale the bad shit. And it's so true. When you get rid of all the crap, um, good things start happening. And so that being said, not long after Jenny and I started dating, um, I went out to Atlanta to hang out with my guys for a few days. Um, then we decided to go down to Panama City. But before we went to Florida, I'm sitting at a baseball game with two of my guys, and I get a text message, and I look down at my phone, and it's my mom, and she had asked how long I was in town for, so I told her. And at this point, we had only been exchanging text messages like "Happy Mother's Day," "Happy Birthday," "Merry Christmas." I mean, it was very minimum and very strained. Um, so for her to text me out of the blue, "How long you gonna be in town?" Was unusual to say the least. And so I told her, and the next thing I know, I'm getting a text message that says, "You want to come to dinner tomorrow night?" So the first thought in my mind was, "Am I dreaming?" The second thing was, if I go to this dinner, what am I gonna walk into? Like, is this like a um, last resort, beat you conversion camp type intervention, or what? I didn't have any idea what to expect because, like I said, I mean, at that point, things had been so strained and so um, non-existent almost that I really didn't know what to expect. And so I accepted the dinner invitation, and as soon as that front door opened, and I saw my mom, it was like it was like I'd never left. Um, my sisters were excited to see me. Mom was, of course, excited to see me. Dad was excited to see me. Um, it was a really really good visit. I think I ended up staying over there for like 6 hours that night or something, and the next day headed out to Panama. Well, um, that was in May. In July, I took Jenny out there. She met mom and dad and sisters, and everybody completely fell in love with her. Um, but with her bubbly personality, I'm not surprised. Uh, so we got back, and a friend of mine that I'd reconnected with, that went to middle school with, um, it does drag here in town, and they had a show one night, and after the show, they came up to me and was like, "Hey, dude, um, have you met this guy over here?" And I was like, "No, I mean, I've seen him around like in clubs and stuff that we had been to, and I think I might have vaguely remembered seeing him at Pride, but it was not anything. I had never actually met him. And so she walked me over there and was like, "Hey, this is Shane. This is and come to find out, he had bottom surgery with I think he went to Ting. Um, and apparently he was not shy about it because backstage he was like, "Hey, check me out. You want to see?" He wasn't like whipping it out, but he made the offer. Hey, if anybody wants to see it, here it is. And so my buddy, being the curious one that she is, and knowing that I was not really considering it, but I was still kind of struggling with body stuff and just body image overall. So she had him and I had started talking about it, and when she had looked at it, she's like, "Dude, he looks amazing." Like, and she's a lesbian, so for her to say that a dick looks amazing is that's saying a lot, I would think. So it really got me thinking about it. I was like, well, because with my ex, it was, I flat out asked her. I said, if I were, interested in getting bottom surgery, would you stay? And when her exact words were, "I don't know," that should have been a red flag, but instead it flipped that switch off. Like at that point, I didn't really think it was worth it because, while it was something that I really wanted at the time, I didn't think it was worth what it was going to cost me in the end at the time. So I let it go. I was like, you know what, whatever. Well, once I really started looking into it again, I was like, man, this is something that I really need to look into and figure out if this is what I want to do. And so I got home and spent the next however long doing research on everything. I found all the myths that are out there about them rotting off and loss of phallus and all of this random crazy stuff that can happen. And most of everything that I knew up at that point was just completely wrong. Or if it had a little bit of truth at all, it had been so twisted and stretched, and that's the way the internet works. But once I really started doing some legit research that wasn't on just Facebook or I don't mess with Tumblr or Reddit, but I was actually able to find some good information, and I figured out that phalloplasty was the way I was going to go. So my next step from there was I've been seeing a counselor here in town, and she had given me the contact information for a caseworker for my insurance company that she just happened to have from another patient that she was seeing. And so I sent this case manager an email, and I was like, "Hey, look, this is what I'm doing. What am I looking at here?" And she was super, super helpful. She emailed me back like within probably 24, 48 hours. She not only included a list of surgeons that were in network, she also gave me my maximum out-of-pocket deductible, which for people that don't know, that are not familiar with this particular surgery, for this one you're looking at minimum 15 grand up to 250 grand depending on where you go and what all you want. So it's ridiculously expensive. The only thing that my insurance doesn't cover is the scrotoplasty, and my maximum out of pocket is $3,200. So it was like all of the stars were aligning, just like they did with my top surgery. I think with my top surgery, I found out that it was covered, and within 2 weeks, I was scheduled. It was stupid fast, and so that's kind of how this one started. So once I got the list of surgeons that were in network, Crane was in network. I was like, are you freaking kidding me? The phalloplasty god is in my network. Are you freaking kidding me? So again, I took it as another sign that, hey, this, you really need to look into this. So I did. I contacted his office in San Francisco, and because of the insurance company that I have, they said that Crane would be doing my surgery in Austin, at the location down there. And so went ahead and they sent me a list of requirements that he had as far as surgery goes, hysterectomy, that kind of thing. Went ahead and got that scheduled. Scheduled my consult, went down there and talked to him. Me and Jenny went down there and talked to him. As he was leaving, his partner, Dr. Santucci, popped in and talked to him for a little bit. I think I've seen a lot of Dr. Crane's work. I haven't really looked into a whole lot of Dr. Santucci's, but from what I've seen of Crane, he does amazing work. That being said, the vibe that I got from him, he's a super chill, super laid back guy. Really, really easy to talk to. But the impression that I got from him was he knows he's a fallow god. He knows, that, he's world famous. I mean, anybody in the FTM transgender community knows who Curtis Crane is. And I think, I can't say I blame the guy. When you're world famous, it's gonna inflate your head a little bit. But Dr. Santucci was completely opposite. He was still really easy to talk to, but and don't get me wrong, Crane went into what could go wrong, but I felt like he kind of downplayed the frequency and the risk and all of that. And when Dr. Santucci came in, he was like, oh yeah, no, this is a legit thing. It happens more often than you think, and he was very realistic. Which Jenny loved. Kind of freaked me out a little bit, but that's why we complement each other so well. I think is, I'm the dreamer with my head in the clouds, or in this case, my own pants, and she's the realist, where she's like, okay, this is great and all, and I will support you 112,000%, but what risks are you really taking? Like, what are we about to get into? And so the consultation with Crane was in it was Halloween of 2017, and came home. I had surgery scheduled for June 20th of 2019, 2 weeks later. And it was super, super stoked. Like, I was elated. Well, right around, probably about a month or so ago. This is July, so yeah, right around the 1 year mark, where we were less than 365 days out for surgery, and I started panicking. Like, I haven't started laser hair removal on my arm. I haven't lost any of the 25, 30 pounds that I need to lose. It was all this stuff, and like I said, we're getting married in January, and my surgery was in June, and it's just like, of course I'm gonna be out of work for a month, and while Jenny can get the FMLA stuff to be out of work as well, we don't necessarily get paid for that. And it was just this whole big thing, like, this wedding it's not gonna be ginormous, but weddings are not cheap. So after talking to Jenny, and we both talked about it at length, and we both came to the decision that maybe we need to hold off on surgery for a little bit. And so I contacted Dr. Crane's office, and I had emailed Morgan, and Morgan is really, really good. That's, if any of you are interested in Crane and having surgery with him, you'll most likely deal with Morgan. Super easy to talk to, relatively quick about, responding to emails and stuff like that. Also really easy to talk to, very informative. If she doesn't know, she'll find the answer for you. So I contacted her. I was like, look, this is what's going on. I need to reschedule my surgery. We're shooting for January 2020. And she's like, well, okay, his calendar hasn't been finalized yet, but I'll let you know as soon as, as soon as we get that finalized, I'll let you know. Fantastic. Well, I don't know exactly how long she's been in this group, but Jenny has found this group on Facebook that's specifically for, I think the group is like partners, lovers, and caretakers of, with fallow guys or something. I don't know, something crazy, awesome like that. And in this group, they, it's like I said, it's the spouses and the partners of these guys that are going through the phalloplasty process. And so I mean, there's, as far as I know, there's not any trans guys in that group that have had the surgery. So I'm in a group that has all of my trans guys that are pre-op, and they're just looking into, they're just getting their foot in the door with the research, and they're asking questions, and all of that. She's in the group for the partners that are actually watching their guys go through this, the emotional part, the mental part, the all of that, everything that goes into that. And so with my group, there's a lot of pictures, there's a lot of talk about how they're feeling, and it's very much about how everything looks and how everything is healing. In Jenny's group, it's more the emotional, mental side of things, where the guys are going through mood shifts and personality changes, and how the relationships are surviving that, and it's more that type stuff. Well, apparently there's a partner in this group whose trans guy was a patient of Dr. Crane's, and due to some sort of complication, I don't know all the details. All I know is that he's now in a coma. And after thinking about it, and I posted in my group, I was like, guys, like, my surgery date is less than, we're a little over a year out now, because I tried to reschedule it, and like, I'm really freaked out by this. So I did some research. Come to find out, right now he is in the middle of between 5 and 8 malpractice suits. And my opinion on that is, it's no secret that Dr. Crane performs the most phalloplasties out of any surgeon that does them. The concern is, if you take the number of surgeries that Crane does and the number that any other surgeon does, and compare that to their malpractice numbers, his are significantly higher. And that kind of freaks me out a little bit. So Jenny and I talked about it, and she's like, this is not the only instance in this group that I've seen, with people having issues with Dr. Crane, and it's not so much the surgery part. They've come through the surgery, fantastic, everything looks great. It's the aftercare that apparently these partners are finding lacking with Dr. Crane. And somebody in my group, when I made a post, I was like, guys, this is what's going on. This is where my brain's at. What the hell do I do? And one of the guys commented and said, Crane is a great surgeon, but there's a difference between being a great surgeon and being a great doctor. And I feel like based on these other guys' experience and you know what they've been through and what they're talking about, um, Crane tends to either lean towards the great surgeon side and less towards the good doctor side, depending on who you ask. I mean, everybody that I've talked to has completely different experiences with him. Some say he's absolutely fantastic. Some say he's, you know, the reason that they've had to have 30 surgeries. And that's actually only one guy that's had 30 surgeries in 3 years. But it was because that's one of Crane's malpractice suits. Um, and he's completely open about it. I mean, if you call him or email him and ask him about him, he's very forthcoming. He's very but again, I got the vibe that he was not I'm going to say this because I was reading what he'd said about it. I wasn't actually seeing him and talking to him or anything like that, but I got the vibe based on what I was reading that he was not he was very laid back about it. Like he was, and that may very well be. I mean, it may not be that big a deal that, because I think the transcript that I was reading had 5 lawsuits in it. And of those 5, I think 3 were just unhappy with their results. One of them didn't like the look. The other one didn't like their scrotum. The other one, I mean, it was aesthetic stuff more than an actual malpractice suit for negligence or whatever. So anyway, all of that to say, I've done some research and I'm now looking into Chen and Safa and Watts out of the Buckney Clinic in San Francisco. They're also a network, so I'm not going to be out any additional money for them aside from housing and all of that for a month or so. So yeah, I went from never doing it in my last video to hey, we're scheduled. Had my hysterectomy back in January. Came out of that completely unscathed. And healed up really well from that. Didn't have any pain, no complications, nothing. I mean, I was back at work 6 weeks. I think I was off my pain pills within like a week. Stupid easy recovery. I was really fortunate there. So like I said, I'm currently working now with the Buckney Clinic and the guys out there trying to figure out when we can get scheduled and all of that. All while planning a wedding. So I mean, life is kind of crazy right now. I've gone from not talking to my mom at all to talking to her minimum, three times a day. Whether it's phone calls or text messages or, and we've gotten to the point where, now if she calls and Jenny's there, I just put her on speaker and the 3 of us, just talk and, laugh. And it's like the relationship is with my mom is, I want to say it's exactly where it was before my transition, but different. Like it's like she's finally, it's like I'm finally giving her the chance to see me as I am, not who she wanted me to be or who I was trying to be because I knew that's who she wanted me to be. So it's really cool for her to get to know me as me instead of like I said, what I was trying to be for so long. And it's whenever we would have conversations about my transition and everything, I always told her, it was like, I'm still me. I'm happier. And I think over the last year of talking to her and pretty much, like I said, on a daily basis, I think she's seeing that. She's doing an amazing job with pronouns. She still slips up every once in a while, but she immediately corrects herself. Dad's the same way. My sisters, they don't have any trouble with it. Brother seems to be doing okay with it. I don't really talk to him a whole lot. I have a little nephew. He's the absolute apple of my eye. I absolutely adore that little guy. He was born in September, and Jenny and I are actually headed to Atlanta when I get off work tomorrow night. I get to see him day after tomorrow, so we're super excited about that. And then Monday, we are taking a family vacation to Myrtle Beach. And then Mom is actually going to drive back from Myrtle Beach with me and Jenny, and she'll stay with us for a week or so. And then she flies back week after next. So, super excited for all of that, and it's going to be really good just to get some me, Mom, and Jenny time in. She can get to know Jenny a little bit better, and then her and I can work on a relationship face to face rather than from Missouri to Georgia. So yeah, I mean, like I said, it amazes me how you think you're happy, you think that you have the world on a string, until all of a sudden the string snaps and you're like, oh shit, what do I do now? And then you can breathe. You take a deep breath and you look around and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna be okay. And when you get to that point, I think that's when the chips just start falling in place. It amazes me. I'm just floored by not only where my relationship is with my fiance, but relationships with Mom and family and everything basically. I mean, like I said, if you had told me a year and a half ago that I would have a daily conversation with my mom, that I would be getting married a second time, and that I would be having bottom surgery in the next 2 years, I would have laughed in your face, because there's no way. There was no way any of that was going to happen. And yet, here we are. So, I think I've covered pretty much everything. If you have any questions about phalloplasty, I think most of you that watch my videos are at least vaguely familiar. But if you're not, if you're new to the trans world, feel free to comment, shoot me a private message, whatever you want to do, whatever you're most comfortable with, and ask whatever you want. I have one rule. I'll tell you anything you want to know. Just make sure that you want to know the answer before you ask the question. So, because I will tell you. So yeah, I think as soon as the plan is as soon as I hear back from the Buckney Clinic and get all of that taken care of and get a surgery date there, I will update and consult and all of that fun stuff. So, like I said, with wedding planning and all of that going on within the next 6 months, I can't guarantee that I can be, spot on with it as soon as I get it, but I will do my best to not make it another year before I post the video. So, on that note, yeah, don't forget, inhale the good shit, exhale the bad shit. Later.